That cheap, convenient can of tuna in your pantry has a much darker backstory than the smiling cartoon fish on the label. The three biggest brands in America were caught in a criminal price-fixing conspiracy. One had its CEO sent to prison, and 1 in 5 cans in independent testing spiked with a neurotoxin. We are talking about mercury and arsenic in the same can, a federal price-fixing scheme that a jury and the Justice Department confirmed, and a lawsuit alleging forced labor on the boats that catch it. I went through Consumer Reports lab testing, Department of Justice records, and federal court filings. Americans eat about 1 billion pounds of canned tuna a year, trusting it as a cheap, healthy staple. Most of that trust is aimed at 3 brands that have earned very little of it. But stay with me, because I will show you 3 brands that are genuinely worth buying. Ones that test their fish and show you where it came from. Stay until the end, because number 1 is a proven crime that a CEO went to prison for. Let me be fair, right at the top. Canned tuna is genuinely a good food in a lot of ways. Cheap, high in protein, rich in omega-3s, and shelf-stable for years. This is not a video telling you to never eat tuna again. It is a video about what the industry does not print on the label, the contaminants, the concealment, and the conduct of the companies you are handing your money to. Here is what every item on this list has in common. 3 red flags. 1. It is documented, Consumer Reports testing, Justice Department convictions, federal lawsuits, not rumor. If I could not source it, it is not here. 2. The can hides it. What is inside, how much toxin it carries, and how it got to you are all invisible from the shelf. 3. There is a better choice, and I will give it to you at the end. Let's count down. Number 7. White tuna is the one with more mercury. At number 7, a trap built into the 2 words you choose between. Canned tuna mostly comes as white, which is albacore, or light, which is usually skipjack. Most shoppers assume white is the premium, better option, and it usually costs more. Here is what the label does not tell you. Albacore is a bigger, longer living fish, so it accumulates far more mercury. On average, Consumer Reports found albacore had about 3 times the mercury of light tuna, and in their survey, about half of Americans did not know the 2 types differed in mercury at all. 18% did not know canned tuna had any mercury. So the upgrade you pay extra for is often the more contaminated can. The fancier word means more of the neurotoxin, not less. Number 7 is the naming trick. Number 6 is the metal nobody even warns you about. It's not just mercury, it's arsenic too. At number 6, the second toxic metal in the can. Everyone knows about mercury in tuna. Far fewer know about arsenic. In independent testing by Consumer Lab, high levels of arsenic showed up in 5 of 6 albacore tuna products they examined, along with some light tuna and other canned fish. Arsenic, in its inorganic form, is a known human carcinogen, so a single can of albacore can deliver a double dose. Mercury and arsenic together, both accumulating in your body over time. Neither one listed anywhere on the label. Now, to be fair, occasional consumption is not the concern here. It is regular, frequent eating that stacks these metals up. But that is exactly how most people treat canned tuna, as an everyday, eat it all the time staple. Number 6 is the hidden second toxin. Number 5 is why you cannot protect yourself by picking carefully. 1 in 5 can spikes, and you can't tell which. At number 5, the finding that makes the whole thing unpredictable. You might think, fine, I will just buy light tuna and keep it moderate. Here's the problem. When Consumer Reports tested 30 samples, they found that 1 in 5 cans had a mercury spike high enough to change the safe serving advice for that specific can. 1 in 5. And there is no way to tell which can it is by looking. 2 cans off the same shelf can carry very different amounts. That unpredictability is why Consumer Reports' experts landed somewhere blunt. Pregnant people may be best off avoiding tuna altogether, because a developing baby's brain is especially vulnerable to mercury. In fairness, the tuna industry's trade group responded that the levels are below the FDA's legal limit and the products are safe. That is true as far as it goes, but below the legal limit on average is cold comfort when 1 in 5 cans is a coin flip. Number 5 is the risk you cannot see. Number 4 is the risk that has been covered up on purpose. The FDA limit is old, and you're paying for water. At number 4, 2 smaller cheats that add up. First, the standard protecting you is dated. The FDA's action level for mercury in commercial fish is decades old and has not kept pace with newer research on low-level exposure, which is part of why groups like Consumer Reports set their own stricter guidance. Second, look at what you are actually buying. A 5-ounce can is not 5 ounces of fish. After you drain the water or oil, you are often left with around 4 ounces or less of actual tuna. You are paying a portion of the price for packing liquid. Neither of these will hurt you, but they set the pattern for this whole list. An outdated rule book and a label that quietly rounds in the company's favor. And if the small stuff is bent in their favor, wait until you see what the biggest brands did when they thought no one was watching. Number 4 is the everyday cheat. Number 3 is where it turns genuinely dark. The fish behind the label is a mystery. At number 3, the question the can never answers. What exactly is in here, and how was it caught? Canned tuna is real tuna. Let's be accurate. But which species, from which ocean, caught by which method, is almost never on the label. That vagueness matters because how it was caught is the difference between a clean troll-caught fish and one pulled up in a massive net or long line that sweeps up sharks, turtles, and dolphins as bycatch. The broader seafood industry has a well-documented mislabeling problem, and canned tuna's blank label is part of the same culture. The less you know about the source, the less you can object to. A brand proud of its sourcing tells you the species, the ocean, and the catch method. A brand that stays silent is counting on you not to ask. Number 3 is what they hide about the fish. Number 2 is what they hide about the people who catch it. A lawsuit alleges forced labor on the boats. At number 2, the human cost behind the can. In 2025, a group of fishers filed a federal lawsuit against Bumblebee Foods under the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act. The lawsuit alleges that they were subjected to forced labor and human trafficking while catching tuna that ended up in Bumblebee's supply chain, describing hazardous conditions, untreated injuries, brutally excessive hours, and abuse at sea. I want to be precise. These are allegations. The case is ongoing, and the company will have its chance to respond in court. But the suit shines a light on something the seafood industry has struggled with for years: the distant, hard-to-monitor fishing vessels at the bottom of the supply chain, where labor abuses have been documented across the sector. The smiling label is a very long way from the boat. Number 2 is the human hidden cost. Number 1 is the crime they were already convicted of. The big 3 ran a criminal price fixing scheme. At number 1, this is not an allegation, it is a proven federal crime. For years, the 3 biggest canned tuna brands in America, Bumblebee, StarKist, and Chicken of the Sea, secretly conspired to fix the price of canned tuna so that nearly every can you bought cost more than it should have. The Department of Justice prosecuted it. Bumblebee pleaded guilty and was fined $25 million. StarKist pleaded guilty and was fined $100 million. Chicken of the Sea's parent company avoided criminal charges only because it turned whistleblower and cooperated. And Bumblebee's former CEO, Chris Lashowski, was convicted by a jury and sentenced to 40 months in federal prison. On top of the criminal case, the companies paid out hundreds of millions more to settle civil lawsuits from the stores and customers they overcharged. Think about what this means. The 3 brands sitting in most American pantries were not just cutting corners on quality, they were running an illegal scheme against their own customers, confirmed in federal court. That is who you are buying from. That is the real lesson of this list. The 3 brands worth buying. Now, here is the good news, because there is honest tuna on the shelf if you know what to reach for. Here are 3 ways to eat well and buy clean. Number 3, pick a brand that tests every fish. Safe Catch built its whole model around mercury. The company says it tests each individual fish and holds its products to a stricter mercury standard than the FDA requires. And Consumer Reports confirmed its levels were relatively low. When a brand is willing to test and prove it, that is the opposite of the silence on the big 3's cans. Choose light or skipjack over albacore, and you cut your mercury further. Number 2, go smaller and lower on the food chain. The simplest upgrade of all, eat fish that barely accumulate mercury. Sardines, wild salmon, and mackerel sit lower in the food chain and are far cleaner. In testing, sockeye and pink salmon showed no measurable mercury or arsenic, while delivering delivering even more omega-3s than tuna. If you eat canned fish often, rotating to these is the single healthiest move you can make. And number 1, buy Traceable pole and line caught tuna. This is the honest answer to everything on this list. Brands like Wild Planet build their identity on transparency, telling you the species, the ocean, and the catch method, and using pole and line or troll catching that avoids the massive nets and the worst labor and bycatch problems. It costs a little more, but you are paying for a fish that was caught cleanly by a company willing to show you the whole chain. The brands at the bottom of this video hide the toxin, hide the source, and got caught cheating you on price. The good ones hand you the details and let you decide. That is the difference. So that is the list. A can of tuna hides a lot: 2 heavy metals, a mystery fish, a hard supply chain, and 3 brands with a criminal record against their own customers. Here's your rule from today. Choose light or skipjack over albacore, keep it to a couple of servings a week, rotate in salmon and sardines, and favor a brand that tests its fish and tells you how it was caught. And if you are pregnant, take Consumer Reports advice seriously and go easy on tuna altogether. And here is the thing, now what you just saw with tuna is not unique to tuna. The same pattern, a trusted brand, a friendly label, and a very different story behind the counter runs through the drive-thru you visit every week. Wait until you see which fast food chains the record says you should think twice about. That video is on your screen now. I'll see you there.